thought it was maybe a raccoon at first making racket. But when we finally went up there together, we found long scratch marks in the insulation and a single large black feather stuck in one of the beams. But there were no birds, no animals, and nobody was up there. Why would this be happening at the same exact time every night? Is this a trapped spirit? We're scared to go up there again. Thanks for any insight. All right, Amanda, let's have the experts weigh in on this. Now, medium Sarah Lemos, when I read an email like this, do you start to pick up the energy from that person's story? And are you able to tap in magically?
Well, I don't know about magically, but I will say that when you start speaking about or the words that are shared, it starts to paint a picture for me. It takes a few minutes, but all of a sudden I can start seeing it. I can see the insulation. I can see them listening, all of that. Okay. So yeah, it does. You paint quite a picture with this. And as a psychic medium, that's how I tune into the energy.
Okay. So tuning into this, hearing what sounds now, first of all, I will say this. I've learned the lesson the hard way. Animals are weird. Animals can make sounds that sound humanistic, like children crying, women screaming for help. And I don't know if you have seen these freaky alligators now. There's video of them. There's and I can't remember where it was. Winnie's watching in the chat room. Maybe she can tell me. But they said you have to be careful because if you're near this body of water and you see what looks like children's hands reaching out of the water looking for help, alligators there have learned if they roll themselves over and wave their little hands, they look like children's hands from the water. No. Right? Animals, they're tricky creatures. Very creepy. But to hear what you think is a man sobbing, you go up there and there's nothing there. There's nothing. I mean, now there's scratches, which could denote that there's a raccoon. You find a big feather, which means you could have some kind of bird up there. But if you're not finding anything else that matches up with this, what were you picking up? Are you picking up spiritual activity, or do we need to call in Terminex?
I mean, when you see things, markings of animals, and there is a feather, there is an idea that there is a way in, right? So something is getting in there. That's one thing to think about. But then residual energy, you know, the idea of someone being very, 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 very sad and something horrible happening and them having this emotional burst of sadness, that can repeat itself and you probably could hear it. That's kind of just what I'm feeling from this, just kind of maybe some residual. And then also if you're seeing scratches and a feather, that could mean there's a way in.
Yeah. But again, kind of at the same time every night, right? That's where it gets weird. I'm not one of those guys that buys into 3 o'clock in the morning because it's the Antichrist hour, right? Because again, I have a hard time. Do they follow the same rules of, you know, daylight savings time? Do the ghosts are like, let's go boo them now? And you can't, dude. We turned the clock back an hour this week. And all the ghosts are like kicking around for another hour, waiting to go, you know, be ghosts. I don't know. It just seems weird to me. But is there something to that dead hour, that 3 o'clock time slot, Scotty? What do you think?
So I was thinking that maybe if there's a feather up there, maybe prior to them owning the house, somebody did a saging ritual and left the feather upstairs and shooed the spirit from the house up. And now perhaps they didn't do it correctly and there's somebody stuck up there, right? And maybe just every night when the house is dead still, that's actually when they hear the sobbing or the crying coming from the attic. Because I don't think that 3 o'clock is so much a witching hours. It's just a time when everybody's the most quiet. And I work a midnight patrol, and I could tell you at 3 a.m. in a bedroom community, there's like nobody out but the bread guy. So definitely it's super quiet, and definitely the time where you would hear something like that. And if you became hyper aware of it one time, you may now psychologically be setting yourself up to hear it all of the time. That is something. And I think there is something to residual energy. And again, maybe somebody did do a cleansing, but they didn't finish it. And that's why there could be a feather up there.
All right. Well, let me ask you both about that, because that's something that I find fascinating, right? I've heard this and I've had friends that are mediums, shamans, demonologists, and they've all told me, well, Dave, you got to start by clearing. So you go up into the room, in the corner of the room, and you open up the windows and you do the clearing and you push it towards the bedroom door. Then you seal the bedroom door then you go out in the hall, and you just keep doing this. You kind of keep forcing it out, and then you have that front door open, so you push the spirit out. And I'm like, it's a ghost. I mean, can't it just phase through the floor and hide in a bathroom or a closet I forgot to sage? And then how does it get locked in? It's still an ethereal being. How does it get trapped in our attic?
It just seems like maybe if it felt like it was not welcome in the rest of the house, it decided to stay there. And that's, whether it could leave or not is up to that energy. But maybe it's just like, no, they didn't want me down there, so I'll just stay up here and live the rest of my existence in the attic next to the Christmas tree.
The only thing I want to add is that, things kick on in our houses at different times. So I'm just going to say this. I'm not saying that necessarily is what's happening here, but like if your heater kicks on at the same time, or a pipe does something upstairs and it could sound funny, it could sound weird. So there could be another reason if something's kicking on at that time of night. That's the only other thing I could think of.
Well, obviously it's a ghost kicking on at 3:12 in the morning.
Truth.
That's weird. I don't know. Yeah, Amanda, that's a tough one. But don't go in fear. First of all, if it's crying, show some empathy. Maybe just even from in your room, do a prayer if you're religious. If you're not religious, drink some goat's blood. I don't know. Just do something to set the intention to free the spirit. Scotty gets all pursed looking at me. I don't know what the proper terminology is, but maybe speak to the spirit. See if you can help them. I wouldn't invite them into your room if they're up in the attic. Let them stay in the attic, but go up there in daylight and open a window and do a prayer and keep saying maybe the prayer of Michael the Archangel, which is supposed to be one of the most powerful cleansing prayers. Maybe open a window in your attic and just keep doing the prayer as you walk towards that window. And then when you hear the ghost fall out the window, you'll know you're safe. No?
That's excellent advice from a seasoned paranormal investigator. That's why he's number one, folks.
That's why I've been on so much TV. All right, this next one comes to us from Caleb in Missoula, Montana. Hey, Dave and crew. That's you guys again. There's this man I keep seeing on my morning walk to work. He always stands near the same street corner. And recently, he started mouthing the words, "Don't go home." I don't know how to explain it. It's like everything else goes quiet when I see him. I changed my route, different time, different streets. He's still there. Last week, I decided to crash at my buddy's house just to get a break. That night, there was a fire in my apartment building. My unit was destroyed. I don't know what to make of it, but it feels like I was getting a warning. Am I being protected, or was I being targeted? Yeah,
Wow.
that's creepy.
Yeah.
Not to creep you out, but that is pretty interesting, huh? I think that's a protection. I think that's somebody looking out for you. I don't know how often you wouldn't want to go home until something tragic happens, but that's one of those things where that seems like protection. Like, look out, don't go home. Something bad's gonna happen.
All right, now Sarah, I know that you, of all of my friends, are a well-respected lip reader. So I would like you to read my lips when I say this.
Okay.
I'm just curious.
Okay.
Don't go home. Okay. Now, what if this was the message? Order donut holes.
Oh, yeah, definitely the
You see?
second one.
Yeah.
I can see where that's confusing.
Yeah.
I can totally. No.
Maybe the ghost is like, order donut holes. And you're like, don't go home. Yes. Order donut holes. And maybe that's what's going on. And then you never ordered the donut holes, so the ghost burned down your apartment. Ta-da!
Or
Again,
a spirit knew that something was going to happen and had an opportunity to communicate said event, and then the house was on fire. I'm not sure that the ghost had anything to do with the fire.
But what's confusing to me is that they saw this ghost over a couple of days. Was this person just not supposed to go home for days?
Well, here's the thing. When we receive messages from spirit, if we don't listen, if it's not heard, yeah, they're going to repeat. And especially if it's a warning, they're definitely going to repeat to you. They're going to be kind of annoying. And they're going to make sure that you understand their message.
Music in our chat room brings up an interesting point. Scotty, I know you're not as proficient at lip reading, but if I do this, right? Don't go home. ghosts and donuts. Maybe
I
the
love.
ghost was saying, listen to Scotty the medium and ghost and donuts.
That's right.
Could be it.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah,
music.
that 100% music. You're 100% accurate on that. Ghosts and donuts for life.
I know there are some people going, I'm reaching out to you for help, and I'm getting ghosts and donuts. Listen, we're just playing a little bit of fun with you on this, but yeah, I mean, if you felt like something is telling you don't go home, and the night you didn't go home, your apartment burned down, it certainly seems like something was trying to get your attention. And do you think that maybe they back up and start passing that message on to you over the period of a few days because they know you might not pick up on that message right away?
Yeah, it could take a couple times, right? Before you're like, don't go home. Why am I not? And then like to really let it sink into your psyche that something is saying this to you or someone is saying this to you. And it didn't stand out to you as something that was threatening, it seems like, because I mean, if somebody told me not to go home, if a spirit was saying it, especially, and I recognized it as such, I would actually probably be a little bit worried for my family's safety, right? I'd be like, why wouldn't I want to go home? I want to be home to protect it. But it seems like you got the opposite. You were there and you avoided possible tragedy.
All right. Linda G from Erie, Pennsylvania. Hi, Dave. I visited my dad's grave last week on the anniversary of his passing. When I got there, I noticed a second headstone had been added directly next to his. It had my name on it. Same spelling, same middle initial, even my birth date. Here's the weirdest part. The death date was next year. I thought this had to be a mistake or some kind of twisted prank, but the groundskeeper swears no new stones were installed in that section recently. When I went back 2 days later, the stone was gone. Is this a warning? A glitch? I can't stop thinking about it. Yikes. I shouldn't say that. That sounds so horrible. Yikes. I hope you have your affairs in order. I don't know. Do you think she's getting like an Ebenezer Scrooge moment where maybe it's trying to tell her on the current path you're on, Linda? This may be you a year from now. Would you start, like, if you're a smoker, drinker, drug doer, hang glider, maybe back off on that? I don't know. Scotty, what are your thoughts?
Man, that is just an unnerving sort of feeling. At first, I was like, well, if it's a real headstone, maybe Dad paid for your headstone to be there, right? People do that, right? But then I was like, well, if it wasn't there in the next 2 weeks, where did this actual thousands of pounds of stone go with your name and stuff on it? I would definitely say that perhaps you saw a little bit into the future. And if you're doing something in your lifestyle that is dangerous, I would stop that immediately. And that's not to make light of it. Like Dave said, if you're somebody who's drinking or doing drugs or any of those things, or a race car driver, stop doing those things right now. Take a breath and reassess your life, because sometimes the universe doesn't send us a person that says, don't go home. Sometimes they send us really stark reminders that we need to stop what we're doing right now.
Yikes. That's creepy to me. I don't mean it to sound rude, but that is creepy in the sense that, thank God they're giving you this, I don't know, this premonition. They're giving you a chance to maybe recapture, or maybe more importantly, they're giving you a chance to make the very best of this next year.
Yeah.
In every way, shape, and form. So don't fold into the depression. Don't sit there and stress or worry about it constantly, but be in the moment as much as you possibly can. Sarah, what other bits of advice or thoughts would you like to add?
To me, it's a gift, so, the connection that this individual had, the information that was received, and the fact that it's now gone, which means there's an opportunity that it can be gone. And that's where I'm going with it, is that, hey, you know what? If you went back and it was gone, then either maybe you already changed something, or you saw a doctor, did something that shifted and changed it, because it wasn't there when you went back. So it's not necessarily the same message, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Or was it, Yvonne King says, what if it's a time slip? What if the stone had been there at one time? Yeah, maybe you're seeing, but again, that it's 1 year from now.
Yeah.
Take
That's
note
a
of
direct
that.
message.
Yeah. Take note of that. Eileen says, maybe a major change is coming in their lives within the next year. Maybe it's not death. Maybe it's a positive thing that the change is coming. I think there'd be a better way to show that than a gravestone with your date of death on it.
But remember the death card in the tarot deck. So death is sometimes it does mean change. It can mean change. But it also depends how this person who got the information read the information.
Yeah.
Crazy. All right. This one comes from James and Rina. I think I'm saying that right. Rina, Rina. And this is from San Antonio, Texas. Dear Dave, Scotty, and Sarah, this is a weird one, and I hope you or your guests can help with it. For the past month, our front door buzzer goes off at around 1:33 a.m., like clockwork. It buzzes exactly 3 times. Sharp, fast, urgent. We check the wiring, nothing wrong. Then one night it happened during a power outage. We set up a camera. The only thing it caught was the audio of a voice whispering, "Let me in." But there was no one there. We're starting to lose sleep and beginning to argue. We're scared. Do you think this is a spirit or is it something darker?
Look out for them black-eyed kids.
Right.
That's all I'm going to say. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Let me in. I wouldn't let it in. Don't open the door. You know, we just talked about this a week ago on the show when I was talking to the lovely ladies that are part of the Appalachian Seance Society. And there are these folklore and stories from Appalachia that if you hear your voice called in the woods, you should never respond. And you should never go towards it. So if something's asking to be let in and you can't see it, I don't know. Would you even, I know Scotty's answer, but would you even peek through the blinds to see, or would you just take for visual granted that you're looking through the camera and there's nothing there? Because I would be afraid, you know, there's the old saying that like during an exorcism, you're not supposed to make eye contact with the person being exorcised. You're not supposed to at any point because it's, and there's a great scene, you know, of all things, I think the best representation of it in an X-Files episode. They never seem to mention it in any of the exorcist-like movies, but during the one episode, I think it was Mulder turns and looks at the thing in the eye, or Dana Scully, and they're like, "Don't look it in the eye. Now it knows you." And I was like, wow, if these are the portals to the soul, did it just target you because you looked it in the eye? I don't know. I mean, that's a weird situation. What are you guys picking up on? Bad wiring, demonic forces?
I don't know.
That just wants to get let in and he can talk.
Yeah, the fact that it said "let me in" is really interesting. Like, to hear the buzzing is one thing. That could be a number of things, right? Bad wiring, bad signal, who knows? But for them to hear "let me in," of course, you know my answer. I'm going to go open the door and find out to see what is there. I'm definitely an old 80-year-old man. I don't care. I'm just going to go see what's going on outside and see what's happening. But I have to ask the question. I wonder if they were like investigating somewhere recently before this started happening. Did they go to a cemetery and investigate? Did they go to a haunted place? And did they forget to tell something not to come along with them? Because why else would these things just start for no reason?
Yeah, good questions, James and Rena. If you want to email me back, dave@paranormal60.com. Maybe we can address this again on an upcoming episode. If you're not paranormal investigators, don't bother unless there are other aspects you want to use for clarification. Yeah. So, Sarah, what's your thoughts?
So I'm just going to take care of the situation the best way I can, right? So I'm not sure what's there. So I'm going to definitely salt. I'm definitely going to use iron on both sides of the door frame. I'm going to state in intention. I'm also going to do a prayer over the space. And then what concerns me is she's talking about arguing with her husband now. Mm-hmm. And so the idea is that energy is starting to come in if it's not already in. So also take care of the home by saging and prayer and things like that also, so that the conversation ends. I think, when a conversation is started, we have to be careful that we make sure, especially with these type of energies and entities, that the conversation is ended, that there is no more conversation, that their energy is not allowed. And it's definitely not allowed between you and your partner.
All right. Tabitha Meadows says, we had 3 knocks. We did not open the door, but I did peek through the blinds and there was nothing visible there. Well, I would never be afraid if it knocks 3 times because that's obviously just a sign that they love you. Knock 3 times on the ceiling if you want me, right? I
Yep.
don't know. Yeah,
That's where I was at.
I've never been a believer in the 3 knocks or 3 a.m. being the, and I'm sorry, I know John Zaffis and some other people do believe in that, and that's cool. Have your beliefs. I have mine. I'm not saying that they're wrong. I just think that that's too simplistic in some senses. Like a demon's going to pick 3 in the morning because it's the polar opposite of 3 in the afternoon when Christ was, crucified on the cross and died. That just seems weird to me, and it's mocking the Holy Trinity. And I say this with all respect. Do me a favor, everybody, right now, close your eyes. Close your eyes. Now, picture yourself walking up to your friend's front door, and there's a doorbell, and it says, "Doorbell out, please knock." Now, reach your hand forward and knock for me. Almost all of us hit it in a series of 3. Almost all of us.
Yep.
Right? It's just, or you do the old, right? The old shave and a haircut. So when I hear knocking in 3, that's something that we do on this side. Does that make me a minion of Satan's because I knock 3 times?
No.
Okay, good. Whew. Glad that my mediumistic friend said no, that I'm not a minion of Satan.
Maybe.
Yeah, we're losing, again, prayer. If you're really that concerned about it, reach out to somebody and you check your local metaphysical shops. There's usually people there that are adept at helping clear homes, but also be careful. If people are telling you, oh, I can do it, but it's going to cost you $5,000 or $1,500. Yeah.
No.
Unless your walls are legitimately bleeding and everybody that comes in gets thrown around like a rag doll, I'm going to ask for $1,000, $1,500 then. But if it's just, let me in, to me, that seems a little basic, but don't let it tear apart your relationship either.
Yeah.
All right. Devin R. from Des Moines, Iowa. I think that's how you say it, right? Des Moines?
Yeah, I think so.
Hey, Dave, I had a dream a couple weeks ago. Oh, and this is weird, and I'll tell you guys my story. Oof. Hey, Dave, I had a dream a couple weeks ago where I was tied to a chair. Someone was robbing me, taking a ring off my finger. I could feel the rope. I could smell smoke. It was so vivid, I woke up in a panic. I had burn-like marks on my wrists, and my grandfather's old ring, the one I'd never taken off, was gone. A week later, I saw what looked like my exact ring listed on a marketplace site 2 states over. The listing is now gone. I don't sleep right anymore. Is it possible to be attacked in your dreams or worse, through them?
Oh man, that's like some Freddy Krueger stuff.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I wonder, I hope, I don't know if you documented this stuff, but I definitely would have taken some photographs for sure. And wow, what are the chances that the same ring would end up 2 states away after you have such a crazy dream? And I'm going to say something so silly. But like, was there any chance that you were out at a bar prior to that and something happened to you? Because that seems a lot more like, and no, I'm not saying anything to mock or make fun, but like as if you were roofied and you had bits and pieces of consciousness come in and out. And then maybe you just don't remember those things vividly. I don't know. I can't think of another plausible reason for that.
How about you, Sarah?
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, to have the sense of the ring coming off the hand, to have actual marks on your wrists. We might get scratches, we may get some bruising, but if your wrists were complete, to me, that my concern is something else happened. Something not paranormal.
All right. Now I will be the pragmatic mind of science and chime in on this, because we do know that you can physically have reactions to thoughts and dreams. Okay. Weird, for instance, Ted Bundy, while in court at one point, when they found the body of one of the little girls that he had been horrible with, they said his face, he turned and it almost morphed and it looked like somebody had just scratched him across the face. And I often wondered, did he get attacked by the girl? Was he reliving that moment and a manifestation of it happened like a hive that then, went back down? There are people that have had dreams and wake up with those memories and sensations. I mean, think about this. Have you ever gone to bed, have a dream that somebody has passed on? You're sobbing uncontrollably in your dream. You wake up, you realize it was just a dream, but the depression doesn't just go away. You feel it in every ounce of your soul, sometimes the entire day. So I think that, manifestations of our fears, of our dreams can show themselves, that there is some element to that may be a physical reaction by us. And we would take it as paranormal. But if in the dream, this is what was happening to you, it doesn't explain what really happened to your ring. And right, if you can eliminate the roofie possibility or drugged possibility, I don't know. Now we do know of things apporting, which means that they could be there 1 second, gone the next, and appear somewhere else altogether. So that is a possibility. It's just weird. Like a ghost would, attack you in your dream to steal your ring to sell it online. Yeah. I mean, that's the part that's weird to me. Yours makes more sense, Scotty, with the concept that maybe somebody drugged you and you're just having these flashes of things. And you're overlaying it, thinking it was a dream, but it was reality, and you were in that drugged in between zone.
Yeah. And not to make light of the situation, because if it is something ghostly, I definitely think you should find somebody local to look into that for you that you could trust, because I've never heard of anything like that happening. But if I was presented with that case physically, I would go to the ends of the earth to figure that mystery out, because that's very dangerous, obviously.
So in high school, first love of my life, right? Linda Nostwick, and just was madly in love with her. Fell in love with her. She was dating this guy I knew. He was kind of a psychopath. And I finally revealed my feelings to her after a few liquid elixirs that helped loosen my tongue. And she admitted that she also had feelings for me. So she broke up with the guy and we started seeing one another. And he was not a pleasant human being. And in my dreams, I fly a lot of times, right? So they say you're doing out of body experiences, things. I was having this dream, and it's very clear. It's almost like my grandfather's visitation dream, but I was having this dream where I was in a large room with this guy, and he was pissed. He was livid. Now, this was also a guy that was into astral projection. This was a guy that would take mind-altering drugs to try to elevate himself out of body experiences. And here's where it gets weird. He started threatening me with a knife in the dream. And I was leaping over him like Peter freaking Pan, right? And, kind of bold. But then all of a sudden, and for people that fly in dreams, you'll know this feeling. Suddenly you start realizing, I don't fly in real life. This is a dream, damn it. And every time you leap, you get a little lower and you can't get that height. And I remember one of the last times I had tried to jump over him, he stabbed straight up and caught me in the stomach. And I woke up in severe pain, screaming. And my mom came running down. My mom's a nurse. She's wondering, what did I just do? She turns on the light. I'm bleeding. I had a legitimate cut on my stomach. And I'm thinking, did a spring on the bed pop or something? Was there something in my bed I didn't know of? And I caught myself. And my mom was like, that needs stitches. What did you do to yourself? I'm like, Mom, I don't know. But I still have the scar on my abdomen from it. So it wasn't just a dream. I can't explain what happened, but that guy creeped me out in life. I can only assume something manifested, very Freddy Krueger-like.
Wow. If anybody else told me that story, I don't know if I believe it, but I believe everything you tell me. So
do I. Yep, it's fact.
That's crazy.
I appreciate your love and belief in me. That's important. But no, I do appreciate it. So the dream realm is crazy. Devin,
did you ever have that dream again? Did you ever have a dream of him again?
Never.
Did you?
Nope.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. Never again.
Wow.
So, very strange. But again, was it my brain worrying that this guy was going to attack me in the real world? Was this cut a manifestation of my own fear or guilt? I don't know. I can't explain. My mom couldn't explain it. And a full-blooded nurse could not explain how I had this tear in my flesh. So, very strange. Very strange. let's do this. We have to take a very quick break. We'll come back. We've got more to discuss. We've got Scotty, the medium. We've got medium Sarah Lemos with us. We've got a lot more to talk about, a lot more of your emails, and we'll do that next right here on the very best in paranormal programming. I'm Dave Schrader. This is the Paranormal 60.
Oh, are you reading me? Come in. Hello? Greetings from the shadow, and welcome to Shadowzine. My name is Jeff Belanger. I'm an author, podcaster, and explorer of the unexplained. For 30 years, I've been investigating the paranormal, UFOs, monsters, and things that bump in the night. Lately, you may have noticed how major TV networks and even social media networks have been pushing our favorite subject back into the shadows. I say good. That's why I launched Shadowzine, a monthly underground publication that covers your favorite topics in depth by some of the leading writers and researchers out there. If you're looking for 30-second TikTok clips, go somewhere else. If you're ready for a deeper dive, put down your phone and pick up Shadowzine. You can't find it in stores. This is old school print. Head to shadowzine.com and be part of the underground revolution. That's shadowzine.com, and I'll see you in the shadow.
All right, my minty mouth minions, it's time to talk about Zellman's. That is the ultimate breath freshener. And if you haven't tried Zellman's yet, what's wrong with you people? I thought you love your pal Dave. I thought you trusted me. Trust me with your bad breath. I want to take it away from you, and I can help you do that by getting Zellman's Minty Mouth. And it's real easy to use. You get the little package, you shake out 2 or 3, pop them in your mouth, boom, immediate clean burst of flavor that is going to immediately refresh your breath. Then, once the candy coating is off, you'll be left with 2 to 3 little gel caps that are filled with natural oils. It's all safe, gluten-free. Swallow them down. They go right to your stomach, to the root of most bad breath problems, and they help to eliminate it there. So you're hitting it in 2 different ways. Plus, did I mention to you that Zellman's is the only one that's proven to be able to beat garlic and onion breath? It's true. So give it a shot. It's even been helpful for coffee, cigars, and cigarettes. So this is what I want you to do. My call to arms, my army of darkness. I need you to go to Zellmans.com, Zellmins.com /P60, like Paranormal 60. Zellmans.com /P60. You're going to save 15% off. Why? Because I love you. And I've made a special arrangement with our friends at Zellman's. Try them. And then do me a favor. Once you've tried it, send me a video of you tasting Zellman's. I'd love to see your first reaction to Zellman's. Share it with me. We may even air it on an upcoming episode. So again, go check out Zellmans.com /P60. All right, we have more emails. We've got Sarah Lemos. We've got the one and only Scotty Davis. This comes to us from Kayla Baker. She goes, "Hi, Dave, Scotty, and Sarah. My name is Kayla from Maryland, and I wanted to get y'all's input on this spooky house." I'm reading it exactly as it's written, y'all's. I used to live in with my mom and brother. By the way, we're all huge fans of your show. By the way, lots of love. We lived in an old town home located in historic Emmitsburg, Maryland, a few minutes down the road from Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and we lived there for about 5 years. My mom would always joke with us that the house must have been a portal of some sort because it was way too active day to day. Hell, I believe it. I would often hear heavy boots climbing up and down the staircase late at night. And of course, I assumed it was my brother, and I'd yell at him the next day for keeping me up. He'd insist that it wasn't him, that he was downstairs the entire night. Yeah, sure, pal. That's what she wrote again, not me. I'm just putting the inflections in. Other times during the day, I would be hanging up in my room, then hear glass shattering in our kitchen. I'd go downstairs to check, and no one would be there. No glass on the floor, no missing cups from the shelves. This happened pretty frequently. Always scared the crap out of me. Once, when I was sleeping, my legs were suddenly pulled to the edge of the bed. I had felt the hands quickly grab my ankles and yank me. I freaked out so badly, I called my poor mom in the other room at 2 or 3 in the morning. At this point, I was in my second year of college. All we could do was say a prayer and cleanse the house the next day. But what was the real icing on the cake, you may ask, was the time my mother's boyfriend over the years would get the same horrible nightmares. The first boyfriend dreamt of a shadow figure banging at the front door trying to get in, screaming at him to let him inside. He didn't believe in the paranormal, so he wasn't too shaken by it. We thought it was very odd, but their relationship ended and we moved on. Then the second boyfriend came around. This guy told my mom about a dream he had, the exact same one, except the shadow figure was shaped like a giant goat man, still banging at the door and demanding to be let in. He was very clearly visibly shaken by this. They broke up eventually, and we would talk about what a weird coincidence that was. Then boyfriend number 3 rolls around. Lo and behold, he has the dream, with this one having a different ending. He said that he dreamt of a menacing goat figure, but it had transformed into a regular Hispanic-looking man. Dream man was a lot shorter than her boyfriend. The man in the dream was acting very possessive of my mother, telling him that she's mine. Go! See, because he's a goat man. Go! I added that part. Her boyfriend wasn't very amused. He said something along the lines of, "This house isn't yours. She isn't yours. You need to leave, man." Then the guy had a fit, looked all defeated, then vanished. When her boyfriend told us about it, we were shocked, but more amused that the scary ghost was probably just a spirit obsessed with our mom. Coincidentally, all the weird activity in the house stopped right after that. Was all of this just from a possessive ghost trying to flirt with my mom? Or a mix of different spirits trying to mess with us? Who knows? We moved away from that house a few years ago, but the experiences there were something else. Thanks for reading and sharing. All the love, Kayla. I hope I'm saying that right. Kaela. Well, Kayla, thank you for sharing the story. I don't know what to make of it. Possessive goat? What do you guys think?
No, seriously though, like I do think that there was something attached to mom for sure. Especially the clear communication from said energy to all these to the different individuals that she was dating, all having experiences. And it's interesting, the last one was able to actually give its story. It very clearly said, "She's mine." And when he replied, no, she's not, the conversation ended. So I think, I do think that there was someone that was very fond of the mom. That's what I'm picking up. I have no idea about the goat part. Scotty, do you know anything about like goat or why that would come through like that?
I have such an interesting idea about this. So, I've dealt with haunted homes where people have described basically like the most scary thing that they could, like a Hollywood writer made up a ghost for them, right? And it was like their own personal scary ghost, right? So the first boyfriend just sees a shadow man, and that's not very scary, right? So he doesn't leave. Then the second guy sees a goat man. Now that's scary. That's like satanic imagery. That's like, wow, goat man. This is terrifying. That's so scary. But he got the wrong number because that guy didn't believe in the paranormal, so it really didn't phase him either. The third guy, it started off as a weird goat, and then it seems like the third guy just took control of the situation in his dream and was like, "Dude, you need to back up. You're not scaring me." So I've dealt with the Hollywood ghost effect, where the spirit just tries to basically dress up and make itself more scary or intimidating than it really is. It
So it's
seems
like
to be what happened.
It's like Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin trying to get spookier, and when they're
Yes.
trying to scare the family out of the house in Beetlejuice.
Yep, I've literally seen that in homes, and I can just see, like, if you move the facade to the side, you can see the human entity behind it, that it's not that scary. It's just trying to be scary so it can get what it wants. So that's what it seems like to me. And I know the area that you're talking about, and that area is very haunted. I've been to quite a few homes there. Very interesting.
Any other goatmen?
None that I know of. The only other infamous goat person is the Goatman's Bridge or whatever it's called down in I think Texas or whatever. All the YouTubers go there. Not me. I don't mess with goats.
You love to go where there are places that you should.
I am a ghost buster, not a goat buster.
Oh,
you know
fair
this
enough.
about me.
Fair enough. Sarah, any thoughts?
No, I honestly just think that I think that the last gentleman took care of the situation really great and was like, "This ain't your place. This isn't your space." And then for it to go from goat to human and then be like, "Oh shucks, I'm out." I am glad that it got taken care of though. I am glad that the story didn't have to continue, and I'm glad that it didn't get even scarier.
Yeah. All right. Candace writes us next. Hi, Sarah, Dave, and Scotty. Oh, wow. Fun, fun, fun. I wanted to start by saying that I love hearing your input on people's experiences and decided that I needed to take the plunge and write about my own. My mother died unexpectedly November 23rd, 2014. Losing her was one of the hardest things that I have ever experienced. That is until my health started to decline in 2018. I was diagnosed with endometrial carcinoma and required a hysterectomy. My surgery was successful, but was also more difficult than originally planned. I will admit that first night in the hospital, I was on some very strong pain medication, morphine. I was in and out all night. Around 3 a.m., I heard the door to my hospital room open, soft footsteps approach the bed, and I was waiting for the nurse to tell me that she needed to take my vitals or that they needed another blood sample. Instead, what happened was someone softly moving my hair and a soft kiss on my forehead. When I opened my eyes, my mother was standing at my bedside. I immediately began to cry. She sat in the chair next to the bed, took my hand in hers. I was so shocked to see her and yet so relieved. From the moment I got my diagnosis, I had wished that she was still here to be with me, and there she was. She only stayed for a short time. She told me that she loves me, will always be with me, even if I can't see her, and to remember our favorite Winnie the Pooh quote, "You are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think." I thought it was all just a dream and wasn't going to mention it to anyone, but when the nurse came in just before the morning shift changed, she asked who the visitor was that had been in. And I told her that was my mom. She had been on a trip and wasn't able to get here sooner. Thank you for taking the time to share this. That comes from Candace. Thank you for sharing that, Candace. What a beautiful story.
Wow.
I had my gallbladder removed in an emergency. I almost said C-section, and that's not what I meant, but I had to have it removed. And I was on morphine. They had some complications. I had to have my gallbladder removed. I'm on the morphine drip for a few days. And when I was in the hospital on the morphine, I could see ghosts in my room when I closed my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
The weirdest thing, right? Like I'm looking at this room. I can see everything in it. I close my eyes. Everybody living is no longer in my visible perspective, but I could see ghosts standing in the corner of the room, staring at me. And this one woman would come up and float in front of me. Her hair almost looked like it was blowing in the wind. And she would be like, she was mouthing. And at first I was kind of freaked out. I was like, is she screaming at me? But I don't know if she was just trying to be heard. Mm-hmm. But it's weird that this is another morphine story, Candace, because that's when I know I saw these things. I know, not these things, these people. I saw them in my room. And it broke my heart. That's the story that they kind of tell on haunted hospitals. And I get very emotional about that as well, because I feel bad. I couldn't do anything for them. Right. And I was partly thinking it was just hallucinations, drug related, but it's so vividly clear to me, not like a drug hallucination. Not that I've had a lot of those, but that's strange. I know it impacted you, Sarah. I could see the tears welling up when we were talking about Candace's story. What do you make of it?
I think it's just an absolutely, we talk about being able to meet them, this space where we meet them, and we have to be, in a space of meditation and calm and a space of connection. And I don't know if morphine does that for some people, if maybe that there's a connection there where you're fully, connected. But I do believe her mother 110% came to her side to be with her without a doubt. And I'm putting it out there. I really do. I do feel like mom came and definitely gave her that message that was much needed. I think it's a beautiful story, honestly.
Mom was alive, right? She just couldn't be there.
No, the mom was.
No.
She said the mom had passed away in 2014.
Okay, I wanted to make sure I got my facts right.
2018. Yeah.
Wow. So it seems like mom she just made that trip to be. And I'm going to tell you what, I don't normally get psychic senses while we're doing this, but I keep smelling citrus as you're telling that story, it was like this really strong, overpowering smell of like fresh grapefruit or like a fresh cut lemon or something. And it came as you were telling the story.
Are you
So
sure
if
it's not my Zellman's minty fresh breath?
no, and we have to talk about that later because when you told me about it last week, I thought you said Hellman's. I've been eating a lot of mayonnaise and my
Yep.
wife is very upset. But
Yep.
to go back to this story, yeah, I started to smell the citrus. So I wonder if she could just let you know if there's some sort of connection there. It was really interesting.
Thank you for sharing that, Candace. Beautiful story.
Yeah, it was really beautiful.
Dave, Scotty, and Sarah. I'm writing to you because I've experienced a series of unsettling events involving my children, and I believe they may be connected to my father's death and a peculiar object he possessed. And I hope you can offer some perspective. 2 months before my wedding, my father passed away. My son was born a year and 8 days later. My brother Mike bears a striking resemblance to my father. When I was a child, my father brought home several items from an abandoned house, including a cane fashioned from a branch. After my father's death, I somehow came into the possession of this cane, and it sat in the corner of my dining room. When my son was about 3, he began pointing and shouting, the man, don't you see him? On one occasion, I saw a shadowy human-like figure glide into his room. I heard a low male voice on the baby monitor, followed by my son's screams. I ran into the room to find him running in circles, looking terrified. Suspecting the cane might be the source of his fear, I moved it to the garage. However, his fear persisted. Then one day, he seemed remarkably happy. When I asked him about his fear, he said it was gone because Uncle Mike comes and talks to me at night. This was astonishing, especially since he was referring to my brother, who bears a very strong resemblance to my deceased father. Sometime later, my son, while looking at a big frame with family photos, pointed to a picture of my father and exclaimed, there he is, that's Uncle Mike. 5 years after my father's death, my daughter was born. She's always been sensitive to the paranormal. She spoke of a little girl in her room, a girl I suspect that my nephew, who was filming a movie in my house, may have captured on camera while my daughter was away at college. Interestingly enough, he used the cane from the abandoned house in his movie, The Unwelcoming House. My daughter also spoke of the man, but she called him the businessman. She called him this because he wore a hat. He would look into her room at night. Her fear, though, centered more on this little girl who she said watched her from behind her pink chair. Before my daughter was born, my son had an imaginary friend named Laura. My daughter, however, didn't like this little girl she saw. By the time my son had forgotten about his imaginary friend, Laura, eventually, my daughter seemed happier alone in her room, often talking and laughing on her toy phone. And then she began to tell me she was talking to Uncle Mike. Both my children are now grown, and the apparitions have ceased, or we just don't see them anymore. While I can't explain the events, I have a strong feeling that my father, in some way, provided comfort and protection to my children during a frightening time in their lives. I'd appreciate your thoughts on this. And on a funny note, when my daughter was about 6, she dressed up in a Nanny McPhee costume and needed a cane. Yes, we found the cane in the garage, and she took it to school. It was perfect. No one was afraid of it anymore. Thanks so much, Angela from Michigan, one of Scotty's super fans.
Ooh, thank you. Super fan.
Super fans.
What a cool story. I'm going to just tell you right off the bat, it sounds like your kids were very spiritually sensitive when they were little. I don't know if it had much to do with the cane, but and I would say that it probably is in your family. So if they feel like Dad and Uncle Mike were coming, and then you have them as little kids, all just having all these like special little friends and perceiving things that they didn't like too. That sounds like me when I was little. I had a bunch of like little friends that other people didn't talk to or didn't see. And then I grew up and out of it for a while, and now we're here. So that's a really cool story. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Hello, Dave. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
No, it's fine, Dave. It's totally okay. I just think that I love these type of stories because, we're constantly trying to find if there's proof for life after death. And some stories can be very creepy and very scary, and some can be very beautiful. And this is definitely, to me, sounds like you had 2 really incredible kiddos that were definitely tapped in and tuned in, and then a really great dad on the other side, always there to make sure the kiddos are safe. So I think that's incredible.
Yeah.
Very cool. Let's do this. We'll take our final break. We'll come back. We've got a couple more emails to cover here, some more Q&As and insights from the lovely Sarah and even lovelier Scotty. We'll do that next right here on the Paranormal 60.
Are you feeling lost, stressed, wondering if Mercury is ruining your life again, or the universe is just ghosting you? Well, you're not alone. At Love and Lotus Tarot, I keep it real. No crystal balls, no woohoo, just honest, grounded guidance to help you navigate life's chaos. Whether you need clarity on love, career, or just anything that feels like a mess, I've got you. Here's something really cool. In between tarot sessions with me, I just put out this new journal book, your very own purge journal. Don't hang on to all that angst and all that stress and all that anger. Get rid of it. Whether it's valid or not, you still have that emotion just eating away at you. So purge them onto paper, scream it, shout it, get it out. They're available right now on Amazon. Scan the QR code or click the link in the description below. Or just visit me at lovelotustarot.com and purchase your purge journal there. Visit lovelotustarot.com to book a reading, check out some of the new merch, and find the insight you've been searching for. Because let's be honest, therapy is expensive and my cards are way cooler anyways. So head on over to lovelotustarot.com now and let's figure out this thing called life together.
Yes, you don't need to continue to email me. My wife did stumble and say Murphy instead of Mercury. So I asked her, was that because Murphy was in Gatorade at the time? And that's why she stumbled. So she's going to be re-recording that. I told her I love the Murphy part. That's my favorite. Are you worried about Murphy? She does do a show called Mysteries, Mayhem, and Merlot. And I'm not going to tell you when she recorded this, but it might have been after one of her episodes. Just going to throw that out there.
It's a lot of Merlot and not too much mystery on that one.
A lot of Murphy rising, too. Hello, Dave, Sarah, and Scotty. My name is Krista Starnes. My profession is dog and cat groomer. I've had some premonitions, or is it the animals communicating with me? In my profession, accidents happen. When an animal is wiggly, sometimes they get cut. For many years, I would get flashes of red followed by a gut feeling that would tell me the severity of the cut. It has since died down due to anxiety and depression medication. But I have always wondered, was it the animals telling me that it was going to happen, or do I have some sort of ability for premonitions? The accuracy of the ability got so precise that my manager actually told me to stop telling her when I got those flashes because it freaked her out. I have talked to Sarah about this many years ago, but I asked the wrong question. How do I make it stronger and get it back? With her being a pet psychic, am I one too? Thanks so much for your time. You are truly amazing individuals, and I can't wait to meet Scotty in Savannah with my very sexy Dalen Spratt. And that comes from Christina Starnes. Let me say one real quick thing, and then you guys chime in. I just watched this video today. They were talking about animals, and this doctor, the scientist, was talking about, no, animals don't have sixth sense. They don't do these things. Then he said that was his belief for a long time. And there have been these studies done where they have put cameras up in the house and cameras at the job of the homeowner. And there are times when the dog is out laying in the sun, and when the person gets up and leaves to head home, the dog gets up and goes and stands by the front door. And if for some reason, like the guy gets a flat tire and has to pull over or makes a stop, the dog gets up and goes back and lays back on the couch until the guy gets back in the car, or the homeowner, the pet owner, gets back in their vehicle and starts heading home. And they said they saw this time and time again with dogs and cats, that they do seem to psychically know when you're coming, and they do come to look for you. So, so there is this deal. So to me, the fact that they're linked in with you and giving you a premonition, if they can pick up on when you're leaving and when you're going to be home, why wouldn't they be able to be sensitive enough to know that there's an injury coming and warn you?
Yeah, that's really cool. And not to take from Sarah, but real quick, I found that a lot of human hairdressers are very in tune with other people. They're very psychic, right? So why is you as a pet groomer essentially doing the same thing for our beloved pets? Why wouldn't you be in tune with them just as much as a human hairdresser? It just makes sense to me. Sarah?
I think you'd have to even be more so, because you have a much rarer chance of the woman that you're doing the hair turning around and biting you or scratching your eyes out.
Obviously, you haven't let me do your hair.
Obviously, I have.
And here we are.
What are your thoughts there, medium Sarah Lemos?
I think that she definitely probably has the ability of foreseeing.
Wait a minute. No waffling. I think she maybe definitely has.
Okay. Did I say that?
Yeah.
Oh, gravy. I would suggest that she can foresee things. And I also think you have your hands on that animal, right? So when you're touching the animal and you're connected to the animal, I believe that we're going to feel things, we're going to sense things, especially if we are psychically sensitive. I do also believe that the energy of the animal can also be felt. And so that animal is communicating to you, may not be through words, could be little moments that you're so used to, that is communicating, that's saying that something's about to happen.
Very cool. Kim Warren says, Scotty, I'm a hairstylist. And yes, I can read anybody who sits in my chair. I think it would make a great show.
You're not wrong.
Yeah. You know who else has a lot of strange paranormal activity? Chiropractors.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, they're dealing with the spine.
Yeah,
I've got to talk to dentists too. Well, think about all the anxiety that's released. And when you're manipulating energy in somebody for chiropractic care, they say that we hold a lot of our tension in, and when we're snapping, popping, and locking, suddenly breakdancing, we're releasing that. So I often wonder, is it really ghosts, or is it those little bursts of anxiety, just like, kind of their own little creatures that exist that are released and then they eventually just fade out?
Yeah, maybe. That's an interesting take on that. I never thought about it.
Yeah. If you're a chiropractor, you've got a haunted office or think that there's something going on. And I would guess people doing massage. I wonder if you pick up on psychic premonition.
I bet.
Yeah. God, I hope not, because I got a lot of apologizing to do to the masseuses. Hi, Dave. I work in a haunted building. I work graveyard shift from 9 p.m. till 5:30 a.m. One early morning in February of 2025, I came out of the restroom, was walking back to the room where my cubicle is because I have been known to trip over nothing. I tend to watch my feet when I walk. I looked up and there was a man standing there, which startled me. From the look on his face, he was startled by me. He opened his mouth to say something and disappeared. I continued on thinking, that was strange. He wasn't oddly dressed, nor was his energy off. So I didn't get a ghost vibe from him. It all seemed normal until he disappeared. The cleaners had already left the building and he was just wearing their uniform shirt. He just looked like a regular cubicle dwelling office worker. As I was using my key card on the door to the room where I work, I thought, damn, I just had a time slip. I'm sure others might have a different interpretation, but time slip works for me. Keep up the good work, Kathleen Bradford. Thank you, Kathleen. Yeah, another cool time slip phenomena. And I wonder if, like, during the day shift, somebody gets up and he's like, what the hell are you doing here at this time of day? And that's what he started to ask before he blinked out of existence. Or maybe that's when Thanos did the snap and everybody, half the population vanished.
Oh, they saved me. Thank you, Thanos.
Yeah, thank you, Thanos. All right. A couple more quick emails here. The Disappearing Room from Michelle T. of Portland, Maine. Hi, Dave. We're staying at a charming old inn while visiting family. On the third night, I wandered a bit while my husband was sleeping and came across a narrow hallway I hadn't seen before. At the end was a white door with an old iron handle. Inside was a nursery, like a full one, crib, lace curtains, rocking horse. Everything was from a different era. It felt peaceful, but weirdly out of place. I went to get the innkeeper to ask about it. When he came back, the hallway was gone, just a solid brick wall. I swear to God, I was in that room. What happened?
Whoa. That's another time slip, it sounds like.
Sounds like it, yeah.
I don't know what's going on with me today. I'm having a lot of psychic smells tonight. I wanted to ask what that room smelled like. I don't know why, but when you were telling that story, the first thing that hit me was it smelled different too. So if that's the thing, if you can remember that, let us know. I don't know why that hit me so strong tonight.
It smelled like poopy diapers.
It might have smelled like poopy diapers.
Could you imagine back in the day when there wasn't, like, you couldn't dispose of them? You just had cloth poop diapers laying around.
And it was hot. There's no air conditioning. So when a baby went, that was it. It was over.
You know, I'm reminded often, there are times like when I've grown up, I was like, man, I wish I lived in the 20s, or I love old Western movies. And I'm like, man, I wish I lived in the Wild West, or man, I wish I lived in the 1950s. And then I watch like 1883 and 1923, and I think, oh God, I'm glad I have air conditioning and doors that shut, and I don't have to worry about rattlesnakes in my boot. And so I think my perspective has changed a lot on life. But there
Yeah.
are times I wish I could step through the portal, see about 10 minutes of the out of doors in Wild West, and then step back through the portal.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm with you,
Scotty-
man.
Scotty, when you read buildings, though, can I ask, because it's a little confusing for me on this one, because sometimes I will see where old rooms were and what they
Mhm.
were used for, even though they aren't currently there. And then when I get that information, I'm like, oh man, I messed up. But then when I ask the person who owns the home, they'll say, no, there used to be a room there, but we boarded it up. The floors were too bad. So could this, I'm just asking, could this be something like that? Like, could she be just seeing the different phases of the property itself?
Yeah, for sure. She could have there could have very well been a room there with that there was a hallway off of at some point, and the brick eat a mint, Scotty. I told you I'm eating all the Hellmans I can possibly eat at the moment.
Because you
My
keep smelling
cardiologist is
things.
not happy with me.
Yeah, you keep smelling things. I think
I
that the
know.
listeners are having premonitions that you need a Zellman's mint.
It's my least used psychic ability, and tonight's just been going crazy. But yeah, so and then if it was an old building and they needed to build an exterior wall, maybe they put up a brick wall. That's really cool. And the fact that the innkeeper was like, what are you talking about, really makes it fun, because you really believed it, and that's a really interesting story. So thanks for sharing.
Guys, I know it's getting late. We're already about 7 minutes over time. I have 3 short stories left. Do we have time? Would you guys do that?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You good? Okay. This comes from Rosie and Ben from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Hey, Dave, we adopted a golden retriever last year and moved into a new place this spring. Everything was fine, except our dog refuses to go down the hallway leading to our bedroom. She growls, blocks the way, sometimes barks at nothing. We joked she was just being dramatic. One night I was carrying laundry down that hall when she ran in front of me barking. I tripped and spilled everything, but right after, the ceiling caved in. Dry rot and water damage, the contractor said. But how did our dog know? Is this common? Well, if you have dry rot and things happening, yeah, that dog could probably smell that there was danger. And that's pretty great. I love it. We don't deserve animals. That's all I'm going to continue to say.
Agreed.
Do you think it was something spiritual, or just the dog could smell?
I think
danger?
the dog smelled the mold and the
Yeah.
dry rot.
And can
I
also
love
hear
animals.
things moving that we can't hear. So the dog could have been hearing the shifting and the movement also. Yes.
There was a story. I love animal stories so much. There was a story maybe 15, 20 years ago. This woman on like a Friday afternoon suffered a massive stroke in her bed. Her dog was the only one home with her. And her dog figured out she was not well, but she was still alive. The dog would go grab a dish rag, drop it in its water bowl, bring it to her and push it to her mouth so she could keep moistening and have the water.
Whoa.
Then the dog would go get a mouthful of the dog food and chew it up and spit it on the deal, trying to push it in her mouth so that it was trying to feed and water her. And then Saturday, when the postman came, the dog went ballistic. And I guess the postman and the dog love each other. The dog never reacts that way. And the dog went absolutely nuts and kept banging on the windows around the house to the point where the postman rang the doorbell. When nobody answered, he walked around. That's when he saw her laying on the bed, not moving, and called the police. So this dog brought food and water and got the postman to come help out.
Wow.
Pretty
That's
cool.
amazing. Yeah, it really is.
Animals are brilliant. All right. Kelsey writes in from Evansville, Indiana. Hi, Dave. At my grandpa's funeral, I swear I saw his eyelids flutter open. Not fully, but enough to make me freeze. I told my mom, and she said I was just in shock. But that night, I had a dream. He was sitting in his favorite chair and said, I'm not where they left me. I had the same dream every night since. Same words. My grandma passed 2 years ago and was buried in a different state. Do you think he's trying to tell me something? Could there have been a mistake? Ooh.
I'm not where they left me. That's a very cryptic message. I'm trying to think of readings I've done where anybody said anything similar, and I just can't think of that. I'm not where
Kelsey,
they left me.
I'm going to tell you this, Kelsey. As horrific as this is about to sound, there are many stories that come out, about every 3 or 4 years of these funeral homes that were supposed to cremate someone, and they've got them down in the basement in a freezer. They took your money for cremation and never did anything with the body. Sometimes they abandon these buildings 10, 15 years later. Somebody comes in and finds bodies stacked up. And I'm not trying to sound morbid about what might have happened to your grandfather, but you may have thought your grandfather has been planted in the ground or cremated, and they absconded with the money, and he is not where he's supposed to be. So
Yeah.
I've often wondered too. There have been times I've gone to those big funeral homes where they have like 2 or 3 wakes going at a time. I wonder if they ever grab the wrong coffin and take it to the wrong spot.
Dude,
You
that's
ever-
had to have happened.
Yeah.
Had
Sarah,
to have.
you know this, Sarah?
It's just too many stories. And then also the cremation process and what's left behind and such, and not going down that road too far. But yeah, it makes sense. I also think it's interesting that the message hasn't changed, because nothing has changed. So the message is every single night. It's the same message. To me, that says something. That means listen. That means something, maybe do what you can to find out more information. Clearly he's trying to say something. But when you said that grandma was buried in another location, that also kind of perked my interest, like almost like they were meant to be together. And so he's not where he was meant to be. That's the only thing that I can tune into.
Yeah, maybe write on a piece of paper, where did they leave you? And see if he'll answer that question in a dream for you. I know it sounds kind of absurd, but at this point, what do you have to lose?
We are the Absurd Channel, so you're in the right place. Great story. Thank you for sharing that. As far as the funeral blink, when my buddy Rick and I went to his father's funeral when we were like 12 years old, we were standing there, just both of us kind of crying and looking at him, and we both turned and looked at each other at the same moment because we both saw him smirk. Now, I know that bodies can still do things, but it looked like he was smiling or smirking at us real quick. And the two of us just kind of, and we both saw it at the same time. Now, what's also weird with my buddy Rick, one day we were driving, totally unrelated. We're driving down a road in Illinois, Irving Park Road, and we're heading towards Roselle from like the Hanover Park, Hoffman Estates, whatever area that was. And we're driving down Irving Park, and there's this old church, and it's got the churchyard, with some gravestones. It's a clear day, totally clear day. And as we're driving, at the same time, our heads snap, a bolt of lightning strikes the cross on the top of the church out of nowhere.
Whoa.
It was blue skies. There was not a cloud to be seen, and we both saw a bolt of lightning crack it.
Holy cow.
Yeah. So very, very weird. All right, guys. We have Dave, Scotty, and Sarah. I collect vinyl. I already like this one. And I picked up an old blues record at a yard sale. No label, just black wax with the initials carved into the center. The first time I played it, it started with static. But then we both heard a voice say, Travis, Emily. My girlfriend nearly dropped her wine glass. Since then, every time we play music, even from Alexa or a Bluetooth speaker, we hear that same voice cutting in. It's always our names. Sometimes it laughs. We got rid of the record, but the voice is still here. Are we haunted? Cursed? Can you help? Scotty, are you getting the vapors? What's going on there?
God, man. Holy cow. Well, Dave, like you said, you and I talked about this all the time. We love secondhand stores and thrift stores and garage sales. They're the best. And I can't think of how many records I've bought from like these kinds of places. And, I was thinking about it. Sometimes you get like those cool records that you just don't know what they are. Somebody pressed it themselves and it's like a cool garage band from back in the day. But I was like, oh, maybe they got like a cool, like one-off pressing of something that rare. Yeah, rare. It seems like somebody pressed something really interesting into it and now you're haunted. And I'm not saying that to be scary or spooky, but it just is, because it was giving me the vapors, as Dave said.
However, Scotty, what do we use?
Yeah.
We use spirit boxes, which make that
Yeah. Yes.
So maybe it's not that the record was haunted, but the template of noise, the harmonics, was enough to allow whatever spirit these two might know to speak. And now that it knows it can affect electronics when they turn on stereos and speakers. So I would think about, who did you share a love of music with? Your father, your grandfather, a brother, an uncle, an old hippie that lived under the bridge? I'm not here to judge. You know, maybe somebody's coming through and they're saying your name just because, listen, I'm here. I'm still sharing this moment with you.
Yeah, that is, and we know that music is such a powerful motivator for us as human beings. So that is just, it's a really cool story. I hope that you kept the record, because, you know, one day I'd like to get my hands on that and play it myself and see what we hear.
Scotty.
Have you tried playing it backwards?
Yeah. Yeah. It just says my name backwards. Evad. Yeah. Sarah, any thoughts on this?
Well, I think music opens us up. So I think this one's as a dangerous one for me, because you have something that if that object was, let's say there was energy connected to that record, music opens us up. It allows us to let walls down. It lets us cry. It lets us have an emotional experience. And you're wide open, and this thing, hopefully something very positive, is trying to communicate with you. That's the only part that's a little unnerving for me.
I think it's beautiful. Music is witchcraft. Music is magic. Music is incantations. It's love songs. Think about this. When you're trying to tell me it's not, I've said this before. How many of us have made a mixtape for that somebody special in our life? Right? All those love songs we put on there, we're trying to sell, man. We're selling. Whether it's, you know, you're every woman in the world to me, or I want to beep, you like an animal, you know, whatever, you're sending a message. You're putting out that incantation. And I firmly believe music roots us in time. Because there are moments where I can listen to a song and I can legitimately smell like the pool water from when I was a kid at the pool, listening to that song, checking out that cute girl that I had a crush on when I was 14 years old at the pool. And I can feel the heat of the sun. It's really weird how there are some of those elements, some of those songs, when it can transport us like that. So personally, I wouldn't take it as a bad thing, especially if it's laughing, unless it's like Sarah, Scotty. Then I'd be like, Schmitz, right? But if it's just, I don't know, maybe it knows it's freaking you out and it's laughing because it thinks your reaction is funny.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Listen to this guy. Yeah. Sure. Hey, if you want more wisdom like that, come see Scotty and I at the Shanley Hotel special event, Napanock, New York, April 25th and 26th. Only a handful of tickets still remain. Meet and greet, presentations, gallery readings. And if you want to see one of the coolest active locations, you got to come out and see the Shanley Hotel. We always have a great time there, and I can't wait to get back. The Shanley Hotel, April 25th and 26th with my good friend Scotty Davis. You can follow Scotty. Tell him where they can keep up with you, Scott.
Walgreens. I'm usually there between 10 and 5. I'm just kidding. You can catch up with me on social media at Scotty the Medium. Go over to my YouTube channel. I just uploaded a video of Dave, Sarah, and myself at the Palmer House. It is a long one. It's an hour and 40 minutes. Go over to my YouTube channel, check it out. And then from there, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, all the places you guys hang out.
Very cool. And we do have a link for Scotty's website on today's program guide. So you can click there and you'll find all of his social media and ways to follow him. Sarah, boy, I have so many people that wish they had your ability or wish that they could tap in and learn how to be a medium, a psychic, how to communicate with their spirit guides and angels. Is there anybody you could recommend that could help them with that?
I would love to help out. If you guys are ready to expand your gifts and abilities, I have classes that are available. And we're starting the 6-month program back up in July. So that's super exciting. All of that information can be found at mediumsaralemos.com.
Fantastic. I love these two with all of my heart and all that they bring to the show. So thank you both for being here this evening. And sometimes the scariest encounters aren't what you see with your eyes. They're what you feel in your bones, what you dream in the dark, and what follows you home. As always, a special thanks to Sarah Lemos and Scotty Davis for helping us make sense of the senseless, and to all of you brave darklings out there for sharing your truth. Until next time, remember, what's terrifying to one may just be a loving message to another. We cover that next, right here on the very best in paranormal talk radio. I'm Dave Schrader, and this is my Paranormal 60.